Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another training tape for the Wisconsin River Officials Association football officials. My name is Cade Murray. I'm the huddle administrator for the Wisconsin River Officials Association. And today we have training tape number 2 of 4 for the 2022 football season. We're 3 weeks in here in Wisconsin. We've had a lot of great things. We've seen some things that are worth discussing. And here today, I hopefully have some clips for you to kind of show you some things that you can maybe use as an official or as a crew moving forward for the rest of the regular season. As always, there are disclaimers when we have these. Watching this video never counts toward any credit towards level advancement for any clinic for the WIA or any state association. Training is for a 5-person officiating crew with the U in the defensive backfield. No clip is ever meant to pick on one official, group of officials, crew, player, or coach. And I am not trained by any clinician or am a clinician or have any association with the WIA at all. I'm purely just an official trying to give you tidbits that hopefully you as an official can use yourself moving forward for the rest of the regular season. And as always, if you have questions, please feel free to contact me. My email is right there. I love getting new clips, love looking at stuff, answering any questions that anyone may have. I may not be the god when it comes to football officiating, but I'm always willing to give any input or any feedback if anyone is ever willing to reach out to me about anything. To get right into it, we have 4 topics that we're going to talk about today. We're going to try and spend about 5 minutes on each. Topic 1 here is going to be on targeting and hits on defenseless players. We've had a lot of different clips come in of targeting that hasn't been called, or blindside blocks that haven't been called, blindside blocks that have been called targeting, or targeting that have been called blindside blocks. It's important to distinguish between the two. And when we do distinguish at the two, where better else place to look than Rule 2. When we look at Rule 2, we have different sections that cover both of these. And I think these two right here really get down right to it. When we talk about Section 20, we're talking about helmet contact and specifically illegal targeting. And targeting is an act by any player who takes aim and initiates contact against an opponent above the shoulders with the helmet. And it can also be with the forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulder. So we can still have shoulder to helmet contact that can be called targeting based off of the rule that is being wrote here in Section 20. When we look at Section 3 and we look specifically at blocking, we look at blindside block. It's in a block against an opponent other than the runner who does not see the blocker approaching. There's an exception with this. If there are open hand contact, it's legal, okay? But if there's no open hand contact, if it's with the chest or with the shoulder pad, and it's to any part of the body, it's considered a blindside block. To help you guys out, let's take a look at a couple video clips. On this video clip, we're going to have a scrimmage kick. Scrimmage kicks are very, very common and subject for targeting and blindside blocks because of a change in possession play. Same goes for an interception and a free kick. So that's something to keep in mind when we're observing blocks here on these special teams plays. We're going to see right at the top of your screen by the ball carrier, there's a hit right there, and we get a flag down immediately on the spot. First off, great job by the crew of getting that flag. Great job of the back judge getting that beanbag down. It's definitely a foul. If we look at it, there's a defenseless player. He's running after the ball carrier. He does not see this block coming. Now, when we slow it down, we look at the contact. All right, we're looking right here at that contact. You see 75 come in from White, and he kind of dips his shoulder, and it's almost a launch. Some could classify it as a launch. I would classify it as a launch when you load your lower body up and attempt to launch into someone else, and he takes them out. Now, if we're talking about targeting or blindside block, well, for targeting, that contact has to be between the head and the neck area. If it's head and neck area, we go targeting. If it's not, we go blindside block. And right here, we see the dip of the shoulder in. Remember, it doesn't matter if it's the helmet because in targeting in high school, we can have helmet or shoulder. And it looks to kind of initiate right around the neck to the chest pad area. It's definitely not the helmet, but we could definitely go and say, okay, maybe hit him in the neck or the chest. That we have for sure. So when we talk about blindside block or targeting, I think it's a safer bet to go here on a blindside block because we see most of the contact initiating right about the chest, upper chest area, not as much of the neck. Now, that's what it looks like on film here. There could be another angle that shows it's completely neck in case we'd have targeting. based off this contact here, I would have blindside block. Because we have so many flags come in on the play, I would definitely like to have a discussion between the two crew members who threw the flag just to make sure that they're on the same page in terms of what penalty it is going to be. Back judge may be able to give some input as well. Whenever we have two flags, we should always have a conversation as a crew to make sure that we have the same call and not two different fouls. I know from a crew member that gave me this clip that it was the same foul, but we always want to make sure that we have the same call. The other thing I'm just going to say, I necessarily don't have as much problem with the linesman throwing a flag on this play, but if we see the flag come in from our line judge and we know that it's getting called, I think it's safe to say that we can keep that flag in our pocket. We can just let the line judge handle it. It does take less time for us to, we don't have to have that conversation necessarily if that flag doesn't come in. Again, there's not necessarily a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying if the linesman is watching there, maybe they should be watching some of the backside stuff more and be focused a little bit more on that rather than a block that is out that the back judge and the line judge may be able to cover. So on our next play that we're going to look at, this is going to be a little bit more of a different type of play. This is just a regular scrimmage play, and you're going to see a run come down or a pass come down to the bottom of your screen here. And when this pass comes down, you'll notice that this player right here who gets blocked is coming in and he's diving in at that ball. So when we look at if this is going to be targeting or blindside block, well, first, the contact is against the ball carrier. So blindside block is out because in the blindside block definition, remember, it's contact against an opponent other than a runner. But is this targeting? Because is he defenseless? Well, he's kind of already on the ground. He can't avoid this contact. Is this contact needed? Not necessarily. Is there a launch? Looks like it. And is there helmet-to-helmet contact? That's the big indicator. And that's where I would say, yes, this is definitely targeting because of that helmet-to-helmet contact. Now, we definitely have targeting on the play. That's a for sure. Now, do we talk about ejection? Well, is the foul egregious enough for an ejection? In my personal opinion, I like an ejection here, and there's a couple reasons why. Obviously, this player knew that it was a foul as soon as he hit the ball carrier. I think that is a no-brainer for sure. Now, when we talk about if it's going to be an ejection or not, that could really send a message because this player, even though he gets flagged for it, may go and he might do it again the very next play. Maybe not the next play, but the next week or whatever. If we eject him, we can guarantee that this player is not going to do this again. And that's where I'm really okay with the ejection. Another reason is that this ball carrier is already down. This is a very dangerous play because that ball carrier is down, that helmet-to-helmet contact, one bad twist to the neck, and this kid could potentially be paralyzed. So, I don't want to say it's that extreme, but it's definitely something where we could use this opportunity to necessarily take this out of the game from maybe this certain team or this certain kid. Coaches preach it a little bit more, etc. So it's a good play to look at, good play to learn from. Other people may have different opinions. That's my 2 cents on it. But let's move on from targeting and let's talk a little bit more about low blocking in the free blocking zone. That's our second topic that we're going to have. And the biggest reason I want to have a discussion about this is because the definition of blocking below the waist in the free blocking zone is very important. I have the free blocking zone definition and the block below the waist definition on here when it's permitted. But the biggest thing is that third bullet point right there. And it's that the block is an immediate initial action after the snap. He can't stand up. He can't take 2 steps back. He can't have an initial charge. He has to go down right away for it to be legal. There was a college rule change this year where you might see it on TV where a kid takes 1 or 2 steps back and then dives at the feet. That is a college rule, and that's legal in college, not in high school. So let's take a look at this play here. This is a perfect example of what an initial charge is. On the left side there, you just saw that lineman take off the feet of that defensive lineman, and that is considered an initial charge. When he steps back like that, when he stands up and takes a couple steps back, that is considered an initial charge. That's what makes this illegal. If he dives at the feet right away, that is legal. But when we're talking about blocking below the waist in the free blocking zone, we have to go down right away. We cannot take 2 steps back. and dive at the feet or anything like that. That is considered an initial charge, and that is illegal in high school. So officials that work between college and high school level, make sure you distinguish that rule difference, especially if you are perhaps a referee or a line of scrimmage official who might see this play. This is considered a block below the waist, regardless of if it was in the free blocking zone or not, because the lineman stood up right away. All right. So our third topic that we're going to talk about is chop blocks. And it's not necessarily something that's super egregious. I've seen a lot of chop blocks called, but I've got a really good angle for you guys to see of a chop block that is definitely a chop block, and that's a good kind of visual aid for you that you can see in live ball action so that you can understand what a chop block is. Remember, that chop block is a combination block where one block is below the waist and one block is above the waist. We see this almost all the time at the line of scrimmage and on the backside. You just saw on the left side there, maybe you caught it. It was 17 and 50. 17 dove at the feet and 50 went over top and blocked him above the waist. So 17 low blocks here, that's legal. That's a perfect example. If we were to just take 17 right there, low blocking, that's a perfect example of a legal block below the waist because it was right at the snap. He went right to the ground. But when 50 comes and blocks above the waist, regardless of if it's in the free blocking zone or not, it's considered a chop block because it was a combination. One went below and one went above. And that's a great example of a chop block that should be called. These are generally going to get called by line of scrimmage officials on the opposite side because they have the widest angle of when it's going to happen. It's almost always going to happen on run plays. We're really not going to see it too often on pass plays. Run plays, when we have a pulling guard or a pulling center, is where we might see this. And this might be being taught at the high school level. I honestly have no idea. This looks like it was designed. It definitely should not be a legal play at all. It shouldn't be in anyone's playbook. We need to make sure that we get a flag down on this. This doesn't happen again. I just want to switch and go to the end zone view. It's the same play, just in the end zone view. We see that pretty clear as day that it's a chop block, and that we need to get a flag down on it. The official who sent this to me admitted that he should have had a chop block. It's just a great play to learn from and just to understand really what a chop block is and what types of plays it can come from. So on our last play here, we're going to be looking at just a really specific scenario where we have scrimmage plays between the 20-yard line and the 10-yard line. And the reason I do this is because goal line mechanics become very difficult. And I want to show a really good example of how to properly handle a close goal line to sideline situation. And it's this play right here. We're going to see a run come to our side, and the line scrimmage official, he does such a great job of staying put, officiating stationary so his eyes aren't moving, and letting the play widen out for him so that he can see this whole play the whole way through. The back judge does a really good job because remember, from the 20-yard line on in, the back judge is at the end line, but he still has goal line responsibility until we get to the 10-yard line. So he does a great job of working and trying his best to come in and get a view of if that ball breaks the play or not. It's not always the easiest thing to do. This back judge really hustles and does a great job of trying to get there and view that play. We obviously have a close situation where he might have stepped out of bounds or he might have crossed the goal line. I really like the conversation here that happens between the line of scrimmage official and the back judge, because that's what needs to happen. There's no signal given, which is perfect. The conversation happens first and it keeps kind of everyone on their toes, but no one knows what the call is going to be. We definitely don't want an initial touchdown signal and then the line of the scrimmage official comes in and says, hey, he was out of bounds. Or we don't want a quick kill and then the back judge comes in and says, hey, that's a touchdown. I really like the no signal by the crew here. The only thing that I would maybe do is not point. You'll notice that at the end, they kind of point at the ground where he went out of bounds. I wouldn't necessarily point. I would just come together and say, hey, 2-yard line, he was out of bounds. Go, okay. And then we kill the clock and make a ruling. Now, as a referee or an umpire or a backside line of scrimmage official, if you see this conversation happen, you might want to kill the clock just so that the clock is stopped for the clock operator. No extra time comes off the clock while we're having this conversation. Most clock operators are probably going to stop this play anyways because they see that he's out of bounds and know that's going to be out of bounds, but you never know. A good, just simple one kill or a whistle might just make sure and ensure that the clock is stopped here. Overall, a great conversation by these two officials of making sure that they know what they're going to have here regardless of if it was a touchdown or out of bounds. I don't even care what the initial call was. I'm just glad that a conversation happened. The last thing that I will mention with this is that after this, the referee should make an announcement just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. If you have a microphone, that's great. If you don't, I'd still come out and make an announcement. The ruling on the field is that the ball carrier was out of bounds at the 2-yard line, second down. Or the ruling, after further crew discussion, the ruling on the field is that the ball carrier breached the goal line, touchdown. Just a simple, crisp explanation that lets everyone know what's going on, and then have the conversation with the coaches about it, and then move on. But overall, very well job by this crew of making sure this play gets called correctly and that we have the proper ruling. All right, that's all I got. I hope that you were able to learn something from this. You were maybe able to have a proper understanding a little bit more of especially the block below the waist, targeting, and chop blocks. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great week 4 or whatever week you're on when you're watching this. And I look forward to seeing you guys for training tape number 3. Thank you again for all of your support. You guys have been amazing. Thank you.